Welcome to this demonstration video of the iTrackLPR system. In this video we're going to demonstrate how to set up notifications using the data server client. The first step is to connect to the data server. So we've already set up a data server, so we'll log into that. And then all the notifications are set up using the options under the notification menu. So the first thing to look at is the contacts. The contacts are an address book of people that will be contacted when certain notifications, particularly the email notifications, are fired. So under the particular contacts, you've got the details of the person and then also the groups to which they belong. So we can then say Bruce Willis belongs to the L1 alerts group, and we can accept that. Similarly, we have a list of groups, and we can edit the groups, and we can have a look at the members of those groups. Each of these can be edited. We can add new groups and specify their membership, and likewise we can also delete groups if we wish to. When sending out mails using the email notifications, you can specify which template to use, and by default there are two templates that are created, and we can edit these templates to be able to give a custom email. So for instance, this is the template for the email that will be sent out when a vehicle of interest is detected and there is some criminal activity associated with that vehicle. You're presented with a straightforward and fairly simple word processing type interface where you can specify the body of the email. Inside the body of the email you can specify certain fields which will be substituted when the email is set out. So for instance, here we have the number plate. To insert a field, we can go to the fields drop down list here and then select which field we want to insert. So we could then, for instance, insert the vehicle of interest make. It will insert that field, and then when the email is set out, that will be substituted with the make from the vehicle of interest. At this point we don't want the make in there, so we can just simply delete it. Similarly, in the subject we can also substitute fields. So in this subject, when it is sent out, the subject will contain the letters LPR, then the level associated with that vehicle of interest, the number plate, and the name of the camera that detected the vehicle. In addition, you can specify tables, you can insert images, you can adjust the justification, font size, font typeface, etc. So it makes the whole system very customizable, and you can send out emails that are customized to your specific needs. The next thing to look at is the pop-up window. One of the notifications that can be created is a pop-up notification. What this does is it will display the details of the vehicle detected on this window. So in this case it will display the date, the plate, the status, which server and which camera, and then also the 3 different frames associated with that vehicle. And if the vehicle is a vehicle of interest, it will then contain the make, the color, the model, the type, any specific features to the vehicle, as well as notes associated with the vehicle. You can specify when the pop-up appears, whether it should be display a sound, whether it should bring the pop-up window to the front, over and above all the other windows, and likewise whether it should flash the background of the frame window. To remove these notifications, you can click on the acknowledge button, in which case all the alerts will be removed, so the background will stop flashing and it will stop playing a sound. These two buttons in the center here, the accept and reject, allow for pop-up notifications to be verified on whether they're the correct vehicle or not, and you can then either accept or reject them. If multiple people receive the pop-up simultaneously, the first person to either accept or reject them will make the decision, and all other pop-up notifications, all the other pop-up windows that people receive will then reflect that acceptance or rejection of the vehicle. Now we get to the most complex part of notifications, and that's actually setting up the notifications. So let's go to the setup of the notifications. We'll start at the bottom. Here are a list of all the types of notifications that can be created. And to create a new notification, you select the type of notification and then can click on Add to create the new notification. Examples of all these notifications have already been set up, so instead of adding new ones, let's just have a look at the ones that have already been set up. So let's start at the top with the L1 pop-up notification. Okay, this is an L1 pop-up notification. If we look at the top half of the notification, in this area you can see that this will be common across all notifications. So let's look at these fields in more detail to start with. The first one to look at is the enabled field. You can enable or disable notifications. As notifications are processed in order that they appear in the previous list, you can determine whether they should be included in this processing or not. The reason you may want to exclude a notification in the processing is that if this notification is going to be triggered after verification, then you do not want it to be automatically processed. You can also specify whether this notification should stop all subsequent processing. So let's have a look at the vehicles of interest conditions. In this case, we're going to specify that the vehicle has to be a vehicle of interest and the level has to be a level 1. And you can choose these levels 1, 2, 3, 4 or resident. In addition, you could also select certain fields. So we could specify that under the notes field that it should contain the words stolen. In which case this will only generate a pop-up if the vehicle of interest is a level 1 and inside the notes field are the words stolen. So you can see the parameters that are set here. It either has to contain or it does not contain, equals to or does not equal, or is empty or is not empty. So in this case we don't really want that condition, so we're going to take that out. Under the vehicle detection conditions, this refers to where and when the number plate was detected. We can specify a certain time, so we can say it's before a certain time, alternatively after a certain time, or alternatively between certain times. In addition, we can have a condition based on certain fields. So we could say that if the camera name that made the detection contains the word Takai bottom, only then should it create a pop-up. This is particularly useful where you want to be able to send notifications or detections to a data server that belongs to another watch or another organization that will be likely to receive the vehicle that is coming towards it because you know it has left your area. Let's have a look now at the pop-up notification parameters. Here we can see the parameters that relate specifically to the pop-up. So we can specify whether it wants to play a sound, whether it must bring the window to the front, whether it must flash the background, and then also whether verification is required. In this case, if we specify that verification is required, we can say after the vehicle has been verified, what notification should take place, and in this case we can select the email L1 alerts. We can also enable automatic verification. So if there are scenarios where there's not likely to be an operator, or you cannot guarantee that there's going to be an operator to verify the vehicle, you can enable an automatic verification after a timeout. So you could say that that vehicle will be automatically verified as a accepted verification after 45 seconds. This is particularly useful where there are watches that may not have control rooms which are manned 24 hours a day. Let's look at the email notifications now. In the previous notification, when we had a look at the L1 pop-up, we noticed that after verification, an email L1 alert was going to be sent out. So let's have a look at the email L1 alert. So here you can see the notification has very similar parameters to the L1, so under the vehicles of interest conditions and the vehicle detection conditions, they're the same type of parameters. In this case, the notification is enabled, but it is not included in the processing because this notification will be called after verification of the L1 pop-up. Let's go down to the bottom where you have a look at the parameters that are specific to emails. So here we can select an email template. We can either select the short default one or the detailed email for vehicles of interest with criminal activity associated with them, and that's the one we will select now. And from this we can either select the primary email address that appears in the vehicle of interest, the secondary email address that appears in the vehicle of interest, or we can give it a custom address list, or as we are in this case, we're going to select from a contact list. And to do that we can select here, and we can then select either by group or by person or a combination thereof the people that must receive the email. In this case we're going to say everyone who's in the L1 alerts group, and also Bruce Willis will receive that email, and you can see from the bottom here it lists then the individual plus the groups who will receive that email notification. A different type of email notification is, for instance, where residents may want to be emailed when their vehicle is detected out of normal operating hours. So let's have a look how we would set that up. In this case we're going to enable it, we're going to include it in the process, but we're going to also select that it has to be a vehicle of interest and the level will be a resident. Obviously this relies on the fact that you would have to capture all your residents' vehicles within your vehicles of interest database. Under the vehicle detection conditions we can then specify the time, and we can say if the vehicle is detected between 10 at night and 5 in the morning, then we're going to be able to send out the email, and in this case let's rather use the short default template email, and the email address that it will be sent to will not be one out of the contact list as we did previously, but it will be the primary email address that is stored within the vehicle of interest, which in this case would be the resident's selected email address. So from this we can see that when their vehicle is detected between 10 and 5 in the morning, then an email message will be sent to that resident, and this will allow them to know if their vehicle has been stolen, or if they are busy driving in the vehicle, it'll give them reassurance that their neighborhood is being watched and is safe. The iTrackLPR system has also been integrated into the Neo video management system, and as such we can send notifications back to Neo. Again, we have the normal settings in terms of the conditions under which the notification will be triggered, and then under the Neo notification parameters we can give a port that the TCP client under Neo will be listening on, and then this will send all the information about that particular vehicle to that TCP port, which can then be interpreted by the Neo video management system. One of the features of the iTrackLPR system which makes it so powerful is that one data server can send notifications to another data server. So in this case we have set it up so that every single vehicle that is detected by our system will in turn be sent on to another data server. So we can enable that, and from this we can specify, because there are no conditions here, that every single vehicle that is detected will contact the data server at this IP number using that port and then the username and password, and will send them the vehicle information as if this data server were acting as an LPR server. In this way all vehicle detections can easily be shared between data servers. Likewise, if a condition is put in, so for instance if a vehicle of interest is specified and it's a level 1, we could easily send all of this to a central data server inside a control room, so that data server in the control room would then automatically receive all level 1 notifications, and the control room could then decide how to appropriately react to that level 1 and who to dispatch. This allows the system to move from being a more reactive system to being a proactive system, in that it can push information to various data servers that are interested in it. Then the last notification that we want to demonstrate is the HTTP notification. This is a general notification that allows you to integrate easily into other systems. and it provides a way that you can get the data server to push into a custom database or into some other third-party system that requires information from the LPR, and it uses standard HTTP protocols to be able to push that information and does a post to them. Again, you have the exact same conditions that you can specify when this should happen, and then in addition you can specify the server name, the port, what particular path to use, and the username and password, and then specify whether it should include the image in which the license plate was detected, as well as the previous and the next frames, and it gives you an option to be able to test that. As I mentioned previously, all the notifications are processed in order. Therefore, the order in this list is important in terms of determining which notifications get processed first. And as such, you can move the notification that you have selected either up or down the list by highlighting it and then clicking on the up button, and that will move it up the list. Likewise, you can highlight it and move it down. I hope this has demonstrated how to use notifications, and I hope you can also appreciate that the power of these notifications can be increased by combining them appropriately and setting them up accordingly. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us on info@iTrackLPR.com, and we'll be most happy to help.